Pilot G210. I use this pen all the time, and I've reviewed it several times as well. I think this pen is great. I think that when you get into what this pen does, it's really good. So I'm going to be drawing the Mandalorian. Is this? Yeah. Okay, so I just drew his head. The good thing about the Pilot G210 is the ink flow. The ink comes out really good, and this is really good to start using the water brush with that pen because it drags the ink out. So here I'm keeping the line work light. I am a little bit in the middle of the pen because there's details already that I have to consider inside of this drawing. If I just drew the head as a circle and then drew in the mask, those circles are going to start fighting with where that mask goes. So here I'm drawing in the mask part going down, and this is the one line drawing, single line drawing that I do, so I don't pick up my pen on this. Coming in with those shapes that are really important in this character design. If you don't get these shapes right, he'll look off. This is also why I'm putting my hand in the middle of the pen. All these elements are so kind of like iconic to this character that if they're remotely off, the character starts to look up. Oh, put down my pen. I have kids, so maybe this isn't a single line drawing, but I single line drew it. But this is a pause. So I'm going to pick up my pen again and draw without picking up my hand, and then going back and blocking out the shading. So just putting in that one part in the middle and blocking out where his eyes and his mouth go. You can already tell that the structure. Oh, I put my pen down again. This is a lot of kid stuff happening here. So I picked up the pen again. Now I'm blocking in the top part and the shade, and shading it in consideration of how the shading would be on a metal helmet. So the shading is a bit different than other things that I would, but also keeping in mind that I'm going to do the water brush with this. So once again, putting the structure of how these things go down, like on his cape scarf part, blocking it in to make it look like that, and making sure that I'm changing angles and the way that I shade stuff that are congruent to the materials that I'm shading for. So the shading on the helmet's not going to be the same on fabric because those things don't do the same thing in light and they don't have the same surface. So again, blocking in where things go. This is the Pilot G210, and allowing the pen to lean on its strengths, big lines. Shading very loosely because when I come in with the water brush, all this stuff is going to be shaded. Now here on the chest part, I went really scratchy, and that's to kind of create depth inside of that character and what it's been through, like if it's gone through war or whatever. So I kind of try to emulate those things with the line work and make sure that there's emotion or history attached to the line work to be added to the character elements, so that I pull that out. So there's the drawing done in the one line drawing, and this second half is going to be me just kind of talking over the water brush technique that I have. So here I have the water brush. This I have my napkin, and I'm basically taking a water brush, touching the corners of the Pilot G210 ink and dragging it. You can see that I'm doing that on the helmet here and allowing the water to drag the pen's ink down and then go from dark to light. Constantly cleaning the tip of that water brush to make sure that it doesn't get too dark, because if you don't clean it, everything gets muddy and dark, and you don't want this character to just look all dark, especially his helmet, because there's like shine and metal elements to it, so you want dark and light but a smooth gradient. So if you think of like the handlebars of a bike and things like that, there's shine to it. So I'm adding more detail and line work here. Not line work, but adding lines from the shading of that watercolor or water brush. Now I'm still pulling lines, also making things darker right there on the chest part. Right when I added the water on that part, it just darkened that whole area, and now that looks a lot lighter. So these are the things that I'm doing. These little fine detail lines on the mask, those details is what makes it look like metal and shiny. So we keep that in consideration. All of this stuff I'm thinking about as I'm drawing, and maybe something to think about when you put the structure down, shade it, and do the water brush, to kind of think about where the light's coming from, how it's going to fall on the metal, how it's going to fall on fabric. And here I'm pulling the ink from the very tips of the line work and dragging it out from the character and adding smoke. This is going to make it more dramatic and pull the character from the background. And just keep on doing that. It's the same thing, adding more brush work on the character and really bringing this thing to life with those fine details, and adding little stumpy marks on that back weapon that he has in the back, and just making sure that there's liveliness to the character. So there it is, the Pilot G210 and the water brush. There's the Mandalorian. I hope you like this drawing. Most of the drawings that I do are on t-shirts. If you want to support, like, comment, follow Artist EQ. If you have any supplies or characters you'd like me to draw, let me know. Also, rate this if you like it. Did you like the drawing? 1 to 10. Did it help you at all? 1 to 10. If not, no worries. Thank you so much for your time, and y'all have a blessed day. Take care.
Artist EQ. Subscribe, like, comment,